We are broadcasting, and here we go. So it looks like you've got your Christmas decorations up, Scott.
Just a little bit, yeah. Yeah, we're just starting. We're not doing Christmas here, but we're,
No?
yeah, we're still, I still put up a few little things here and there.
No, you got to do that. Yeah. Just
Yeah, so
makes.
I have my little manger scene and a few other little things.
Oh, very nice. My office doesn't get much for decoration, so. But upstairs we've got some trees and garland and all that good stuff, wreaths. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Good to see everybody hopping on here. Good morning, Ernie. Happy Thanksgiving week. So this is going to be a fun week here for the Barton household. I got my boys coming home from college, and at least trying. We've got one still stuck in Tulsa. That's we got a snowstorm coming today, so we'll see if he actually makes it home tonight. We had to reroute him. So Ernie doesn't celebrate in the Caribbean. That's because every day in the Caribbean is Thanksgiving, I would think. So Ernie, are you like just vacationing in the Caribbean, or do you live there? We got a little chat going on the side here. So welcome everybody. We're going to get started in just a second. I believe we are going live on Facebook here as well. So today's topic of the Diabetes Reversal webinar is diabetes and gut health. So we had a little bit of a mix-up on the email that went out yesterday. It talked about staying on track, which was actually last week's email or last week's webinar. So, but today we're going to be talking about gut health. And so if you were interested in how to stay on track, you can watch the replay of last week's webinar that's on our YouTube channel. And all of the links that we talk about, including our YouTube channel, are on bartonwebinar.com. And you can go there to find the diabetes solution kit and our supplements. And today we're going to be talking about healthy gut support. This product right here, a prebiotic, probiotic, digestive enzyme. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Before we get started, I wanted to just read a quick disclaimer. So this video is being made available for informational and educational purposes only. Not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've read or seen here. All right, covering all of our legal bases. So, Dr. Saunders.
Also, you have to think about that. You may need help applying the principles that we teach to your specific situation. And so would if we say something that doesn't apply to you and then you do it and you go, hey, that didn't work, or it made me worse, or something like that, because it's the proper application, not just the information. So this is for informational purposes, and then the application is for you and your doctor to figure out.
Very good. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So I'm going to just start things off here and ask an open-ended question. How is the bacteria in the gut related to type 2 diabetes?
Oh, wow. You know what? If people knew how important their bacteria in their intestines were, then they would be a little more careful about it. You know, if you look at throughout history, human beings have always had a ton of bacteria in the food. That's just the way life always was. You know what? If you leave food out, it's going to grow bacteria. But today, we do everything we can to kill bacteria. We kill them. We irradiate our food, and we fill it with BHA and BHT, and we heat it up and pasteurize it and homogenize it. And we do everything we can to kill all of the bacteria. And you can buy this long shelf life milk now that can sit on your shelf outside of your refrigerator for like 6 months or something, because it is ultra pasteurized, so nothing is alive in it. You know, it's like even like yogurt. You know, we think, oh, we're getting probiotics from our yogurt, right, or kombucha or something like that. But we don't realize that in the process of packaging, they have to heat it, pasteurize it, because that gives it a shelf life.
Yeah.
it needs a long shelf life in order for them to distribute it and market it and keep it on the shelves in the stores for a long enough period of time so that they can stock these huge amounts and get discounts for their large amounts. So what they do is they pasteurize yogurt and then they put a drop of probiotic in the top of it and say, with active cultures. Or people are buying sauerkraut and the sauerkraut's in a bottle and they don't say, wait a minute, that bottle means that it was heated up and all of the bacteria are killed and so that it can stay in the bottle, be pasteurized. So for all those reasons, we don't get bacteria in our food. You think about it. I told you before, the peas porridge in the pot 9 days old had a ton of bacteria in it after 9 days. And people didn't have refrigeration and freezers in their house and all that stuff. So today we have to work to get probiotics. We have to try. We have to make our own yogurt at home or make our own kombucha tea at home or ferment our own foods in whatever way they're fermented, whether you're making miso or annatto or any of those kind of things. Cheese, you have to make your own cheese if you're going to get bacteria in them. So we have to take a probiotic. Okay, so your question though was, how is that related to diabetes?
Yeah.
Okay, so in type 2 diabetes, there's one thing that's going on that's really important, and that is inflammation. That inflammation is part of what makes the need for sugar go up. The resistance to insulin goes up, so you have higher blood sugars and higher insulin, because that's one of the things that inflammation does. It causes a stress reaction in our body, and the stress reaction makes us resistant to insulin. So it contributes. Now, what does the bacteria have to do with that? Well, if you have good bacteria in your intestines, it suppresses or lowers your inflammation. Whereas if you have bad bacteria, which isn't really bad bacteria, it's actually all good. If we just have overgrowth of certain types of bacteria, then it creates inflammation. And in the increased inflammation then causes more insulin resistance. So it's really important to have good bacteria growing in your intestines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially for diabetes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, very interesting. So how does that work? What is the mechanism for like the connection with insulin and why that? Is it just
okay?
Yeah.
Type 2 diabetes is resistance to insulin. The insulin level goes up and the insulin isn't working as well. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that does that is stress. And so when the body's stressed due to inflammation, then you have more of that insulin resistance, which just makes the problem worse. It doesn't create diabetes, but it certainly makes it worse.
Yeah. So how do probiotics help?
Okay, so probiotics are the good bacteria, and this is really interesting. That the bacteria that we have in our intestines, in our large intestine, bacteria. There's no bacteria in the small intestine. It's sterile, or as pretty near sterile as you're going to get outside of anywhere.
Interesting.
So all of the bacteria from the small intestine is washed into the large intestine, and that's where we have all this bacteria growing. Mm-hmm. Now I lost my train of thought. What was your question again?
So why should we take probiotics?
Okay, probiotics, right. So the probiotics that we take orally are washed down into the large intestine. And what we have there is a fingerprint. Whatever you're born with, well, when you're in the womb, your intestines are sterile, totally sterile. And then when you're born, you're first exposed to bacteria, and that exposure to bacteria causes us to grow the bacteria in our intestines. So that bacteria that you first get when you're first born starts creating, as you're gathering more bacteria, starts creating a biofilm. And that biofilm in your large intestine is a fingerprint. Like dogs can smell the different bacteria that you have. And when they sniff your rear end, they can smell. It's kind of like a fingerprint to them, because they're more, their brains work more on smell than visual. We see things and we say, oh, I've seen that before. And they smell things, they say, I've smelled that before.
Yeah.
And so 10 years later, when you've grown up and you're now a 10-year-old, they can recognize you by the smell of your bacteria in your intestines.
Mm-hmm.
because it's like a fingerprint. They can tell the difference, and everybody's different. So probiotics are the good bacteria, and when you take probiotics, you're getting these bacteria, you're putting them in your intestines, but your personal bacteria that you had since you were a baby are going to kick them out. They're going to like get rid of them, and it takes anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks. And so within a few days to a couple of weeks, all of that good bacteria is gone, and you've just got your normal flora there again.
So will you always have that same flora from that you had as a baby? Like
Yep.
That never goes away and never changes.
Nope, doesn't change. The amounts change. Like if you're eating certain foods, you'll grow more of one and less of another, and then you eat different foods, you'll grow more of this and less of that. So the amounts will change somewhat, but the types of bacteria pretty much are consistent throughout life.
So do most people, I mean, is it like regional, like people in certain areas have similar types of bacteria, and then like if we travel to Mexico and you drink the water there, a lot of times you get sick because you don't have the same bacteria. I think that's kind of what happens. Is that connected to that?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you've ever traveled and you get diarrhea when you travel, it's not because they have bad bacteria there, it's because they have different bacteria. Mm-hmm. And so now your bacteria are trying to kick out this, wait a minute, these are not the ones that are normally that I'm used to. Yeah. So yeah, when you go regionally, you'll have different bacteria in different people. So some of the regional differences that people have are attributable to the bacteria that grow in their region. Interesting. Wow. Different illnesses and things like that.
So we have a question from Ernie about inflammation. He says that he needs to address inflammation. It seems to be the killer. Could you provide the ultimate treatment for that?
Yes. You can totally shut out. Okay, so he asked ultimate. So I'm gonna give you ultimate, and then I'm gonna give you other options.
Okay.
So the ultimate treatment for inflammation is to shut it off completely. So you can shut down inflammation by fasting. When you don't eat, when your stomach's empty, you go into fasting mode, or starvation mode, they often call it. And during that time, you can't make inflammatory mediators. It just shuts off inflammation totally. So that's one of the ways that can help with diabetes, especially the complications of diabetes, like Alzheimer's disease and amputations of limbs and blindness. You can stop all of that by shutting down the inflammation, and that would be fasting. So that's the ultimate way to shut off inflammation, and we talked about that a lot in several other of our webinars. Mm-hmm. But other ways to shut off inflammation is to have things that suppress inflammation generally. So omega-3 oils. In fact, there was one study that showed taking fish oil improve diabetes as well as medications to improve blood sugar. So it's not always just the sugar. Sometimes the inflammation, lowering the inflammation, can help. So fish oil is one. Turmeric is another. We actually have a turmeric product that can help with that. And then another thing that is interesting is ashwagandha, which helps your adrenal glands. It's an adaptogen that shifts down your adrenal response so that you have less insulin resistance. and suppresses inflammation. So these are ways to get inflammation down. Probiotics are also very useful for suppressing inflammation. In fact, so much so there's a whole book written about it. They call it a second brain. It's so important for preventing Alzheimer's disease and inflammation of the brain that they say these bacteria in your intestines, having the right ones, are that important for preventing Alzheimer's and general inflammation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just a quick note to our guests who are watching and joining us today. We're going to be having a healthy gut sale on Black Friday, and I think it's actually going to start the evening of Thanksgiving. So after the football games are over, check your email, and we're going to have a big sale going on of healthy gut support. I didn't have it ready to go today. I was hoping to get that set up for you early for you guys as a reward for watching. But just check your email on Thursday night or Friday. We'll have a big sale, an opportunity where you can get healthy gut. So, and you had talked about, Scott, how this, bacteria has a short shelf life, and that's the case with this. Like normally, like our other supplements, like we have Nervala for nerve pain and Synachroma. This has like a 3-year shelf life on it. Nervala and Synachroma, 2 to 3 years, whereas healthy gut support is 1 year, and it's because it's got living organisms, and you definitely have to you can't let it sit on the shelf forever. So so that's just an interesting thing that I learned as we created this product, that we have to sell it quickly. So get it into people's homes. So you'll hear more about that on Thursday and Friday. So we had another question here related to, let's see here. Okay, Tim asked whether omeprazole messes up. It says, I think there was a typo there. Tim, if you can enter your question. Let me just check the other place here. No, not there. So we'll get to Tim's. If you can re-enter that. I didn't quite make sense of that. Skip asked, what bacteria are the good ones, and how do we find out? So you kind of mentioned how all bacteria is good ones, but maybe in the case of like probiotics, because like when we created this formula, there's all sorts of different types of probiotics we could have used.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And besides that, the number of bacteria we have in our intestines, the number of different bacteria is well over 500. There's a lot of different kinds of bacteria, archaea, even viruses, and phage. Phage is a virus against bacteria, and so and we have billions of those in our intestines. It's just amazing the whole world of activity that's going on in our large intestine.
Yeah,
it's really huge. So, but the types that we know of that really make a difference are lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. These are the kind that make the anti-inflammatory mediators that help us to decrease inflammation, that help our brain work properly. There are a few other ones. There's a yeast called Saccharomyces boulardii, which is also helpful for maintaining a good gut flora. It isn't by itself, it is a probiotic, but it doesn't like make anti-inflammatory mediators. It just helps you maintain a good flora. It's actually a yeast from bread. It's a bread yeast. That's why it's called Saccharomyces boulardii. And that's found in a supplement. You could find it in various, one's called Flora Store that you can get at a pharmacy. Has that. The other ones, like the lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, those are found in most probiotics, and almost all of them have at least those two, and several other ones.
In our healthy gut support, we have like 7 or 8 different types of lactobacillus and bifidi,
Bifidobacterium.
bifidobacterium. There's a Streptococcus thermophilus.
Yeah, and then Streptococcus, right?
Yeah, and then there's so this also has prebiotics in it, which is the fructooligosaccharides and I believe apple pectin.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
aloe
that's
vera.
pectin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the apple pectin is probably what helped my dad with his acid reflux story, because as long as he ate an apple before bed, his acid reflux would, pretty much be diminished so he could sleep through the night. So I don't know if it was that or the fiber or combination of all of it. So, I've got an interesting story. So you talked about like the small intestine, large intestine, and we're going to go down this road just a little bit because there was a question about poop. And, so this is all connected, like it's going through the poop chute, right? So like, could you talk about what should healthy poops look like, smell like? And then I'll get to the follow-up.
Okay. It's a very touchy topic because people monitor their poop, and it's really kind of very personal. And I had one man. He went through our program, and he says, "Yeah, I feel better. My arthritis is gone, and I have more energy, and I'm able to work all day long. But I have this problem now. I have constant diarrhea." And I said, "Oh, diarrhea? Okay, well, try this. Try some more fiber in your diet." And he goes, "No, that didn't help." And so we kept going. And finally, I asked him, I had never asked him before, "What do you mean by diarrhea?" And he said, "Well, the stool is soft. Like I have to wipe my butt." And I'm like, "Well, didn't you always have to?" He goes, "No, I always had a hard stool. And it was really hard. It would come out. I never even had to wipe. It would just it would come out so hard that, it didn't leave it on anything." And he says, "Now I need baby wipes. You have to carry baby wipes around with me to clean myself off." And I said, "Dude, that's good. That's a good change, because what you want is soft stool. In a sense, the softer the better. But soft, it doesn't need to be formed. People think they have to have a formed, round stool, and that's really not the case. The softer stool is better because you have less pressure in your large intestine, and you have fewer problems with diverticulosis, which we talked about once before, and hemorrhoids, and bleeding in the stool. And all of those problems happen just from having hard stool. So having soft stool, and then people often ask about the smell of stool. If it's bad smelling stool, is that a bad thing? Not really, because the smell is more related to what you ate, and certain things like rotten eggs, for example. Everybody knows the smell of rotten. Well, I don't know, everybody knows, but if you've ever smelled a rotten egg, you have that sulfur kind of smell.
Yeah.
And you can get that kind of smell from even broccoli. And so what's the relationship there? Well, they both have certain amino acids that are called sulfur amino acids that produce hydrogen sulfide gas. And that gas is really smelly. It stinks. In your bacteria in your intestines metabolize these amino acids and produce these hydrogen sulfide gases. And so that smells really bad. But the smell by itself is not, it just means it's more of an indicator of what you ate and not an indicator of having bad bacteria or even good bacteria for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, well, that's helpful. So when I was a baby, I was born with Hirschsprung's disease, which basically meant a portion of my large intestine didn't work. The nerve cells were basically dead, and so I wasn't diagnosed until I was about 6 months old. But they ended up removing, I think it was a third of my large intestine, and redoing all the plumbing down there. There was, I think, 6 or 7 different operations. I had a colostomy bag for a little while, and so I was in pretty rough shape. But it's interesting now, like everything works great. I mean, as far as I know, I don't have any major issues. But like I have to be, I have to take more probiotics, and eat more fiber always helps, and things like that. So, but I mean, that's for everybody too. So, yeah, the importance of having healthy poops is, that ranks right up there with a good night's sleep. So.
Yeah. And you mentioned the two things that are probably the easiest way to handle healthy poop. So a lot of people, they go immediately to like laxatives, and they start using chemicals to try and get healthy poop. And the two best things, if it works, if it helps, if you can, the best ways to deal with it are with increasing fiber and changing the bacteria. So, for example, one man was having issues with diverticulitis frequently, and so and he was having a hard stool all the time. So I recommended high fiber, and I said, you really need a good probiotic. So he went and bought the most expensive probiotic, out of the refrigerator. This is the refrigerated. It's the really good one. And it didn't help him at all. And meanwhile, his wife, who was in the room with me, said, "Oh, my husband needs a probiotic." Takes the cheapest one off the shelf in the grocery store, and that one helped him. It made a difference, and he could tell the difference, because when he took it, it worked, and when he didn't, it didn't.
Yeah. Very cool. So I was just told by a team member here that our Black Friday sale page for Healthy Gut Support is actually live right now. And yeah, so, okay, I just posted the link in Zoom. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, maybe Leslie could post a comment or something with that. But the address is gardenog.com /LTR/37. And so gardenog.com/LTR/37. That link is posted here. But if you go there right now, you can order, you can buy 4 and get 4 free. So you can get 8 bottles of this for, that's our best deal right now. That's like our Black Friday sale. So I'll just post that there if you want to get in early on that. We do have limited supplies, so it would be a good idea if you want that. This is a great probiotic. Dr. Saunders formulated it. It's got prebiotics, it's got probiotics, and it's got digestive enzymes. Could you talk about digestive enzymes and how that works in our gut? We've got 3 different kinds. We've got amylase, protease, and lipase.
Yeah. So let me just start off with that my patients have been really happy with it. I've had people who have tried multiple different probiotics and different gut kinds of formulas. And one woman, the day I was there with you in Utah when we were all meeting together, she sent me an email, and she said, "For the first time in my life, I have normal intestines and they're functioning well." And that was the Healthy Gut Support. She was telling me how well it worked. I'd given her some of that. So the reason the enzymes are because if we don't break down, like the amylase breaks down the starch into sugars, and the protease breaks down proteins into amino acids, if we don't have those broken down all the way, then we can't absorb them. We can't use them. And then they go into the intestines and they start growing bad bacteria. So good bacteria grow off of prebiotics. And these are things that we don't digest and we don't absorb, that they do. If it's something that we normally digest and absorb, like normal proteins and starches and sugars, if they go into the large intestine, they start growing bad bacteria, which they're not really bad bacteria. It's just that they overgrow. You get too much of these bacteria that create inflammation, for example. So the proteases are helpful in that way, that while you're eating them, you're already digesting these the proteins and carbohydrates. so that you can absorb them out of your small intestine and they won't go in the large intestine and wreak havoc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a question from Grace that's relevant to this is, when should you take enzymes and probiotics, on an empty stomach or with a meal and time of day?
That's a great question. And the answer to that question is yes. So there have been several studies that show you get fewer of the bacteria that you take live through the digestive process. So if you take them on an empty stomach, you get more of them into your large intestine. If you take them with food, you tend to get fewer of them. However, it's not so much the amount that you're taking. You're taking maybe millions or billions when the number in your large intestine are measured in trillions. They are so, it's mind-boggling how much is really there. And just to give you an idea of how fast they grow, if you took one single E. coli bacteria that replicates about once every hour, and you just let it grow for 2 days, and took away all its waste product, gave it all the food it wanted for 2 days, how big would that colony be?
I'm thinking it's going to be pretty big. I don't know if it's the size of a small dog or something, or
it would be bigger than the Earth.
Oh, I was close. My dog is only 23 pounds, but that's amazing.
Yeah. So we think, we're getting twice as much bacteria if we take it on an empty stomach than if we take it on a full stomach. Okay, that's true, but getting them in there is really the most important thing. So if you're not taking them, you're not getting them in there. If you're taking them, they're getting them in there. And some people say, well, I couldn't take it because I didn't have an empty stomach. No, just take it. It's okay.
Well, I've used this and other products like it, but this especially now, I guess I haven't, maybe once in the last year I've needed it. But if I start to get like a sour stomach or a little bit upset stomach or something like that, or my boys have used it quite a bit, like for whatever reason, I think when you're younger, isn't your gut like still kind of working itself out? Because I haven't had nearly as many issues as an adult as I did when I was a kid. But anyways, we've used this, like, take one every hour. Like, it goes in, and for what it somehow helps, like, to get rid of stomach aches. And I don't know if it's every stomach ache, obviously, but it's doing something to help things out. And that was a trick I learned from Dr. Mercola actually several years ago. So. Yeah. I don't know how it works. Do you know how it works?
No, I don't. It would depend on why you have a stomach ache. So if you're not making digestive enzymes or something, then yeah, the enzymes in it will help. The probiotics I wouldn't expect to be really useful in the stomach. Really, they don't become useful till they get to the large intestine. So I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah, maybe it's more the digestive or well, who knows? Could be the prebiotics too, but so that might be a reason why, like, it's like, why should I buy 8 bottles of this? And well, I mean, if you have a large family, you could give them away for Christmas and stuff. But yeah, otherwise these would last you quite a while. And yeah. Anyways,
the gift of gut health.
The gift of gut health, right? Gut health in a bottle. Okay, let me go back. We've got a few other questions here. One from Scott. I take nutritional yeast to get my B vitamins. I normally take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Is this okay, or do I need to take it with a meal?
Okay. I'm thinking that with nutritional yeast, it's a nutrient-dense product that is a food, but there are certain things in there that are fat-soluble kinds of vitamins that would be better absorbed if you took it with food. If you have other food with it, especially something that has some fat in it, oils, or something like that. So in some cases, I should think it would be better with food. I can't think of a reason you would take without food. The reason you take certain supplements without food is because of competitive inhibition. So if you're taking trace minerals and you're taking like a copper supplement and you're eating something that has a lot of zinc, then you're not going to absorb that copper supplement. If you're taking something like amino acids inhibit each other. If you, for example, when you have turkey, turkey has a lot of tryptophan in it, and you don't really absorb the tryptophan very well because it's inhibited by other amino acids that are in the meat and whatever else you're eating. But if you eat it with cranberry sauce and you have apple pie and you have sugar with it, then the sugar inhibits the other amino acids and you absorb more of the tryptophan and you get more of that, I feel like I've just had a big meal. I want to go take a nap. That serotonin release from the tryptophan doesn't happen unless you have sugar with the turkey. So that the reason for taking the nutritional yeast with food would be you absorb especially the fat soluble stuff better, and I don't think you would worry about the amino acids. So I should think it would be better with food.
Okay. All right, a couple more questions. We'll do rapid fire here. So Tim restated his question. Does omeprazole interfere with supplements like Synachroma?
Oh, it interferes with a lot of supplements, but mostly things that require acids. So minerals, especially magnesium, zinc, copper. Let's see, that needs calcium. Though it inhibits those, and that's well known and well described. And then there's another thing is vitamin B12. And so yes, in the Synachroma we have vitamin B12. And so that would be inhibited by omeprazole to some extent. Okay.
Great. All right. Skip asks, what test measures insulin resistance?
Okay. There is now an insulin resistance test where you can say, I want an insulin resistance index. And if you're less than 1, it's great. If you're 1 to 3, it's okay. Over 3 is really high. And they do a test. They look at your insulin level, sugar level, and then they develop an index from that on a fasting specimen. So you can just look at your insulin level and sugar level and say, oh, if you have high insulin and you have high sugar, on a fasting specimen, that's a bad sign. That means you're pretty insulin resistant. So there's a way to do it without the insulin resistance index, but most labs do an index now.
Okay. Good deal. Let's see. Do babies born by C-section, are they born with any different or worse gut bacteria?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, that's totally true.
Good job. That's another one from Skip.
Yeah, throughout life, people who are born by C-section, they get skin organisms. They get streptococcus and staphylococcus and this gram-positive cocci that are found on skin, and that's their primary organisms growing in their intestines. Whereas the ones that are born vaginally have the lactobacillus and the gram-negative organisms that tend to what we call probiotics. So actually, being born by C-section does have certain risks. There were studies done, and people born by C-section have more risks of intestinal problems, irritable bowel syndrome, things like that, than people who are born vaginally.
Okay, interesting. All right, Ernie, now I'm going to get back to your question. You've been waiting quite a while. So when we first started talking about, I believe, probiotics, it looks like he's taking Beano and Culturelle. Have you heard of those? I know I've heard of Beano. That's yes. Like Gas Away, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you talk about those two?
Yeah, those are enzymes. So
okay.
when we don't eat beans for a long period of time, and some people just don't make the enzymes very well. If you don't eat something for a long time, then your body automatically downregulates the enzymes that are needed to digest that. So there are certain carbohydrates in beans that are different from like regular starches and sugars that we digest. And so if you haven't eaten beans in a long time and then you eat a bunch of beans, then that carbohydrate will go into your large intestine because you won't digest it and absorb it like normal. So it'll go into your large intestine. The bacteria will go, oh boy, look at all this starch, and they'll make a bunch of gas from it. So you can tend to get really gassy. And so they have those like lactate, the lactose or lactase enzyme for the lactose sugar in the milk, and then they have the culturel and the Beano. And what those do is they help you to, they are the enzyme that digests that carbohydrate so it doesn't get into the large intestine and create a problem, a gas problem.
Okay. Good. All right. So just to recap, so healthy gut support. This is our probiotic, prebiotic digestive enzyme formulated by Dr. Saunders. We're going to have the lowest price we've ever offered before. Our Black Friday sale is actually starting early for all of you guys. This is like a special sneak peek. I posted the link in the Zoom chat. If you saw that, it's gardenog.com/letter or LTR actually /37. And we're going to put that link up on bartonwebinar.com soon. Eric is working on that behind the scenes right now. But yeah, you can stock up and save on healthy gut support. And everything we sell comes with a 365-day money back guarantee. We have an awesome customer support team that can help you place an order if you would like, or to get a refund if you want to someday, which we hope doesn't happen, but we offer that because we want it to work for you. So, and let's see what else here. I don't see any other questions that have come up. So let me just go back to our document here, see if we had anything else. Can you think of anything else, any other topics to cover on gut health here while we're talking about it, Scott?
Well, a lot of people don't know that the enzymes, some of the enzymes that we're talking about, like amylase was mentioned, is found in the saliva of our in our mouths. So as we're chewing, we actually break up the starch and mix this amylase in and start digesting. Even before we swallow, we're already digesting our food. So just to put a plug in for sitting down, enjoying your meal, taking time, chew it, mix it with the saliva. You don't have to think about that because that makes it yucky. But just actually sit and chew your food instead of like a dog. One time I went to a restaurant. And I got a really nice cut of beef, and I couldn't eat the whole thing. And it was, I don't know, filet mignon, something like that. And I brought it home, and I gave it to my dog, and she went, swallowed the whole thing. And I'm like, you didn't even enjoy that. Right. That was horrible. That was the best cut of beef, and you didn't even enjoy it. Right. I was so mad at her. But to sit and enjoy your food, to enjoy the taste of your food, to chew it, is really helpful for your digestion.
For sure. Well, and that's, my mom taught me that. She would, say like, don't just be concerned about, finishing your food. It's like, enjoy it. Like, this is one of the best things God gave us to enjoy on the earth. It's a good meal. And so, mindful eating and thankful gratitude, like that's, perfect for this week with Thanksgiving, like just being thankful for our food and for our family and friends that we're with and for our health and life around us. So, and, back to chewing food too, like I noticed that I chew my food a lot more than most people. So I'm I barely ever can engage in a good conversation during a meal unless I break the rule of talking with food in your mouth, which my wife does not appreciate, nor do my kids. But so it's like a choice. Okay, do I want to chew my food and enjoy my food, or do I want to talk? So it's
Well, Miss Manners has said that in the modern age that it used to be really gauche and bad manners to talk with food in your mouth. But she said we would never get our food down and never talk if we didn't talk with food in our mouth. So she says it's actually okay these days. It's not considered bad manners anymore.
I need to find that. Is there Miss Manners, huh?
Yeah, I read that, years ago, but I thought, oh, that's really interesting that they've actually.
I'm going to find that article and share it with my family so they give me less of a hard time when we're eating. So, because I have a friend that says you should chew your food like 70 chews before you swallow it. That's more than I need. I'm more like 35 probably. But some people it's like 3-4 bites and down the hatch,
Yeah, exactly.
So good. All right. So Ernie has a question here. Let's see. Back to inflammation. Can you put a link in here for anything that I can buy? So I'd link to bartonwebinar.com, and that is kind of our main hub website for these calls that we link our products in. So you can check that out, bartonwebinar.com. And then he asked, so Dr. Saunders pushed the keto diet as well as fasting. Can you talk about talk about the diabetes reversal plan, and it is close to keto in a lot of ways, but with some slight differences.
Okay, so the diabetes reversal plan is really not about becoming ketogenic, although it's going to happen. Is diminishing your carbohydrate intake to a very small amount. 20 grams of carbohydrates is not very much. I was looking on a cold cereal. I forgot which one it was. It was a granola, and this granola from Trader Joe's was like 33 grams of net carbs in one serving. And we're talking about 20 grams in a whole day. That's your whole day's supply. So that's a very small amount of carbohydrates, and that usually ends up you start burning fat, so you make keto. So it is a ketogenic diet in a sense. Is phase one of that. And so talking about the ketogenic diet and digestion and fasting especially, when you limit the carbohydrates in your digestion, then you have fewer of those carbohydrates going into your large intestine. So if you're eating high fiber, things like broccoli and squash and spinach and lettuce, that doesn't have a lot of carbs, but does have a lot of prebiotics, then you're always growing good bacteria and you're not growing any bad bacteria because you're not putting any simple sugars into your large intestine that grows the bad bacteria. So you're actually helping the gut bacteria to grow and having improved digestion from changing to a lower carbohydrate diet. So like a keto diet, for example. As long as the keto diet, a lot of the problems with keto diet came from like the Atkins movement, where they were living on a bacon, sausage, cheese, omelet in the morning, and drinking cream, which is really not a healthy way to eat, that kind of thing. But if you're having a spinach and kale omelet with mushrooms in it, then that's going to be a healthier way to go, and it's still ketogenic. I mean, it's still the same kind of thing. So getting the prebiotics without getting the starches and sugars, that's the keto. So that fits that. Then the next part was the fasting. Your gut repairs when it's empty. That makes perfect sense. You don't try and repair your car while you're driving. You know, you're not going to be driving the car and asking the repairman, it's making this noise. Will you fix it while I'm driving it? Obviously, that's not going to happen.
That's how they like fingers.
Yeah, exactly. So in the same sense, your intestines, while they're working, they're not going to be repairing. So all of the gut repair and the importance for diabetics especially is getting proper nutrition and not getting too much of anything like even proteins and carbohydrates. So fasting is the best thing that any diabetic can do. In fact, I have now a gentleman in the care facility where I work. He fell, he had surgery on his arm and he couldn't walk, and he had surgery on his leg too. And he had diabetes and congestive heart failure. And I said, look, and he was complaining about the food. I said, don't complain about the food. Look, you can fix all this stuff just by not eating. And so he went, he's been now 20 days drinking water only. And he no longer has congestive heart failure, and his diabetes is completely gone. He tested negative.
Oh, wow.
In 20 days.
Yeah. And there's different types of fasting too. Like you can do, the longer, 1 pound a day for as much as you want to lose, if you wanted to lose 20 pounds, fast for 20 days, or we have like the 6-10 reset plan where it's stop eating at 6 o'clock at night, go to bed on an empty stomach at 10 o'clock. And then that's when you enter that anabolic phase and get with your circadian rhythm, method of fasting, really. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can see my dog is over here waiting for me to come and let him outside, I'm sure. So, so let's wrap things up here. It's Thanksgiving week. We've got Thanksgiving here in the U.S. on Thursday. And a lot of times it's a day of overeating. I mean, you've got turkey, you've got mashed potatoes and gravy, you've got vegetables and pumpkin pie and stuffing and all these things. Now, for somebody that has type 2 diabetes and is really looking to keep their carbs low, I mean, you can still have a good meal. What would you recommend? Because honestly, like a lot of people have great discipline and will just say no to all of the carbs on that day. But if they were to eat a little bit of carbs and have some cranberry jelly or, have a dinner roll and stuff like that, what's your advice for when, like, doing it earlier in the day or anything like that? How can we minimize damage from this meal?
Damage control. Okay, so that is a great question. Damage control is your habits. Your habits are, I generally don't eat after 6. Or if I generally eat a ketogenic diet. And if that is your habit, then that's the damage control. And then if you have forays out into party land and you enjoy doing like a feast for a meal, that's not going to be an issue. You can eat late, you can stay up, you can eat your sweet potato pie, and you could whatever, enjoy it. And here's the problem is stress will do more damage than food. No matter what you eat, you cannot overcome the damaging effects of stress if you have the perfect diet and the perfect exercise program. So don't stress out over your food. Just totally enjoy your meal and eat whatever you want on that day, because that's a holiday and you get to enjoy it.
Praise the Lord. That is good news right there. So yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's important. Stress, keeping that low. I read an article recently from, I think it was a pediatrician who worked with kids that die, like cancer patients and kids that were dying. And he interviewed them and he asked them, like, what are the things in your life that you remember that are the most special to you? And they would talk about their mom and dad and family and their toys or, teddy bears and things like that. But one of the things that all the kids mentioned was ice cream. And it's like, that's like, is life worth living if you can't ever have a bowl of ice cream? Like, I would say no. Come on, you got to have ice cream every once in a while. So
Exactly.
treat yourself. But yeah. So.
I mean, you don't have to, but
Yeah,
you know, if
you love
that's something that's on your bucket list, for heaven's sakes, do it, and then go back to your habit of not doing.
Right. You probably don't want to do it every night or every day. Yeah. But a special treat here and there. And that's another reason that we have Synachroma that helps with that. So you can, mitigate some of the insulin spikes and blood sugar spikes with that. So, okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Saunders. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And everybody, thank you for joining us. This has been a great call. And I know we're going to talk more about gut health in the future because this is a packed topic and we couldn't get to everything. But check your emails Thursday, Friday. We're going to have this Black Friday sale. Also sent you the link, so you've already got the opportunity to get that now. If you want to get some healthy gut support, that can be shipped your way coming here soon. We won't be able to get it to you before Thanksgiving, unfortunately, unless you live in South Dakota. Then I could drop it off at your door or something. Or Ernie, if you want to fly me down to the Caribbean, I would maybe take you up on that. I don't know if my family would quite go for that, but thanks everyone for your questions. Thanks for participating. Have a happy and safe and blessed Thanksgiving, everybody, and we will see you next week. Thank you.